We drew our legal mandate from an Act of Parliament called Veterinary Surgeons and Veterinary Paraprofessionals Act. This is Act number 29 of 2011. And this is not to say that that is when Kenya Veterinary Board started. This is just the alignment, or the Act was reviewed. Otherwise, Kenya Veterinary Board has been in existence all the way from before independence, from 1953. But basically, up to 2011, Kenya Veterinary Board was only regulating people called veterinary surgeons. These are personnel with who have qualified in degree in Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine. So in 2011, the board was re-engineered through enactment of this law. Now, the changes that took place then, one of them is to include other personnel, other cadre of personnel in the regulation bracket, called the veterinary paraprofessionals. Now, this is the cadre of personnel who have done animal health, either at BSc level, BSc Animal Health, diploma or certificate. So when they are put together, they are called the veterinary paraprofessionals. That's one of the things. Other changes that came through enactment of this act in 2011, including establishment of an inspectorate unit, which ideally is to ensure that the personnel providing the veterinary services all over the country, their competence is known, and that competence is verified by the Kenya Veterinary Board, and by way of registration, now they are allowed to practice. Now, the overall objective is to exercise supervision and control over the veterinary training, veterinary practices, and business related to the veterinary services. Other than that, there is also regulating the employment of veterinary surgeons and veterinary paraprofessionals, or rather exercising supervision and control over their employment. And then the other part of the objective is to advise the government in relation to those aspects. So that being our mandate, now we have several functions that we do now to achieve this mandate. One of them, which we have said, is registration. Because registration is actually a certification to ensure that whoever is registered is to practice or to carry out veterinary services is competent. So during registration, we check that somebody has graduated either in animal health or veterinary medicine. We are certain that, and then we are certain that they don't have any, their conduct is also good. So once they meet all those qualifications, then we now put them in our register. In essence, when we put them in the register, we regulate them now, so that they are now supposed to abide by the law that forms the board and the code of ethics, so that whatever services they offer out there are actually of quality. And we monitor them all across, so that if there are issues of malpractices or professional conduct, then according to this law, we take the necessary necessary precautions. We have an inspectorate team which goes out and looks at the services which are being provided countrywide, to see that whether those providers are actually competent and registered. Where they are not competent and registered, then they are violating the law. And of course, working with the other law enforcement agencies, then they are apprehended and prosecuted in courts of law. And in this regard, we have prosecuted, I think for the last 4 years, we prosecute about not less than 500 per year. Although now, when we started because when we started in 2013, the numbers were high, but now the numbers are decreasing progressively because the society is also learning that if they have to offer veterinary services, then they need to comply with the law. We sensitize the public. Whenever we hold workshops, we have pamphlets. We also go through print and electronic media to tell the public or to sensitize the public on provision of quality veterinary services. So during registration, what we do, once we have registered you after meeting the requirements, then we give those personnel a card which shows that somebody is registered by the board, and this is a card that also gives other details so that the public are able to know. Now we give several cards. So like this one, I'm a vet also. So like this card now, this card has got several features. The card has got the logo of Kenya Veterinary Board, the photograph of the provider, the name of the provider, and the qualifications of the provider. So you find we have different cards with different colors. Veterinary surgeons are white generally. We have green ones for certificates, we have yellow ones, and we have the blue ones. And then the ID number of that person is also included there. Now, and then the registration number. Now, these cards are renewed annually, or the registration is renewed annually. So it has got the year of validity. For example, a very simple example, if a farmer is keeping livestock, this animal, the cow for example, has to produce, it has to produce so that he gets the products and also gets the offspring. And then services contribute greatly now to safeguarding of that animal health, because an animal cannot produce if the health is not important. We have seen it in livestock now, in human beings now, at this era of COVID-19, because for an animal to produce and reproduce, it has to be healthy. So once we ascertain that the people providing those services know what they are doing, then it means the animal will be able to reproduce, as opposed to people who are providing the services by trial and error. Imagine somebody has got a cow and he now contacts somebody who is not competent. What they do is what I call trial and error. He treats, he finds it's not okay, it comes again. So in that process, the farmer ends up either losing a lot of money, and unfortunately, or maybe finally, he might end up losing the cow. That is why we are saying it is important to have quality treatment, so that a proper diagnosis is made, treatment is made, and then advice is given appropriately. That is number one. Number two, now, trade. Trade is actually international, is regulated through World Trade Organization, and the animal health standards for trade, SPS, sanitary and phytosanitary standards for trade, are set by another body called World Organization for Animal Health, acronym OIE. So, World Trade Organization has mandated OIE to come up with the sanitary and phytosanitary standards. So you find that these are the standards that we abide by, such that if, as a country, we want to export animals, or even animal products, then what happens is that World Trade Organization asks OIE to carry out risk analysis, to see that the possibilities of risk when they are either importing or exporting. So once that one is done and it's given a clean bill of health, then it means we can export or import. The key thing here is provision, the quality of services. One of the parameters is actually the people providing the service. Yeah, if the people providing the services, they see how qualified, how many they are in the country and how qualified they are, so that they can ascertain these services are now being provided by competent personnel. So I think the risk factors are reduced. And maybe let me add one thing there, that you have heard of this issue of antimicrobial resistance and what have you. So that one is also mitigated through using of, through application or the use of qualified personnel. In short, what I want to say is that through provision of quality veterinary services, we improve the livelihoods and the economic interest of the public. We also safeguard animal health and welfare, and we also promote public health, because we in addition to minimizing and microbial resistance, we also certify the people who examine meats of animal origin. So it's health and economic interest together. So when those ones are combined, now the livelihoods are improved, and the farmer gets to get more returns from their industry. Yes. Our services are national, in the sense that our headquarters is here, and the regulation of the veterinary services in the Constitution was not devolved. Provision of the services, as you have said, was devolved, but regulation was not devolved. However, if you look at the Constitution, I think Article 189, it talks about collaboration in the process of working. This one, we respect that one very much. One of the things is, when we are going to the counties to do inspections, we have to work with the county governments, through the county directors of veterinary services, be it the CECs, or the chief officers. That one is very key, even for us to achieve our mandate, because, as I said, we regulate the employment of veterinary surgeons and veterinary paraprofessionals. And now the people providing these services are in the counties. So when they are doing recruitment of the personnel, veterinary personnel, we have to come in and engage the county public service boards and refer them to what the law says, that they can only employ somebody who is qualified and certified by Kenya Veterinary Board. So that is number one. We have to work with them, otherwise we will not achieve that one. But besides that one, I think in our strategic plan, we have also said we are going to have not really to devolve, but decentralize. We are going to have regional offices, so that our services are also close. But in a nutshell, we don't work in isolation. Regulation of products of animal health origin is a collaboration between us in the veterinary department or veterinary services and health. So the role that we play is especially in the slaughterhouses. Before slaughter, we do a post-mortem. Slaughtering, we are there to inspect the meat, certify that it's fit for human consumption or otherwise. We are there in the transportation of meat from the slaughterhouse to the butcheries. Now, in the butcheries, now the public health comes in now. The Ministry of Health comes in, because they are the ones who actually inspect the butcheries and see that they are fit to sell and what have you. But I believe there are practices which butchers should do. What is lacking maybe is enforcement, because I can say this, that we have so many laws, but unless it is enforced, it will just remain as a piece of paper. So I'm sure there are those protocols, there are those guidelines where maybe even depending on, so that they need to see They need to wear uniforms. They need to wash their hands when they're handling that one. Meat and handling of when somebody is handling meat and money together, it is wrong. So I think it is incumbent upon the public health officials actually to enforce this much more, because the spirit is actually to promote public health. So somebody might be going to buy meat and still now going to buy trouble, because like these times of COVID now, it's not very good. Coronavirus is not new in the veterinary field. Yeah, we have coronavirus in chickens. We have coronavirus because some diseases in chickens and others in dogs. Although now the strain we have now does not seem to be as zoonotic one, it's mainly affected the human beings. So the management of coronaviruses in the field of veterinary, I would say we have been able to do it because it happens in chickens, infectious bronchitis, and then there's coronavirus in dogs. But good enough, we have a vaccine is already developed, so that one is actually under control. But you see, this strain that came is mainly affecting the human beings. So, and you have heard, I think a lot is being done to look for a vaccine.